Hello everyone. I wanted to make this video as kind of a send-off from Miss Gruttadaro's 5th grade class going into 6th grade, wherever it is you may be going. This year was not what I expected, it's not what you expected, but a great lesson that we can learn from all of this is we can't always control the things that happen to us in life, but we can always control the way that we react. So if we react with positivity, a good attitude, we put forth our best effort, we look for the good, things tend to work out. So I'm very proud of all of the work that you all did at home. You really transitioned so well into the at-home learning. You showed independence and autonomy. You showed that you could be diligent in your work and you had integrity. So you really showed all of those wonderful essential skills. And it's not just essential skills that we want you to focus on in school. The reason that we have those are because you are going to go out into our world and be citizens in our world. And those essential skills are what make up a good citizen. And I have complete faith that as you venture out, moving on to 6th grade in a new school community, into the world, that you are going to make a positive difference and you are going to be a great citizen in our world. The world needs each and every one of you, and the world needs each and every one of your stories and your journeys, so you are important and you are going to do great things. I wish we had more physical time together in school. I wish we had more of our great morning meeting conversations. I had a lot more that I wanted to teach you and a lot more that I wanted to learn from you. So I wanted to make this just as kind of a wrap-up, kind of like how when you're writing, I tell you to tie up your writing and wrap it up with either a conclusion sentence or a conclusion paragraph. So I kind of wanted to summarize the year and tie it up as if we would have if we were in school. So an ending can be sad, but it's also every time you end something, you start something new. So when you end a chapter, you end a book, there's always another one. So I put together a little letter that you're each going to get in your materials bag when you pick them up. But I wanted to read it to you because as my one last spiel to you as your teacher. This year, my first year at DeWitt, you were the best group of kids I could have possibly been with. I have the best job in the world. I got to hang out with you every day this year. You made me a better teacher. You made me a better learner. You made me a better person. And I hope that when you look back on 5th grade, even if it's not your favorite year, I just want you to look back on it and remember positive things and think, you know what? I learned some great things that year, or I made some great friendships, or Miss Gruttadaro always helped us stay positive. I just hope you look back on the year with a positive mindset, even though some negative things did happen within our year. You are, with my first class at DeWitt, I'm hoping my last pandemic class, but it's a year you'll never forget. You are basically living an I survived book. So your story is important. Bring it forth into the world. So I just want to read you the letter that I wrote you. You'll get it. If you keep it, you keep it. If you don't, you don't. But it's kind of my last remarks to you to close out our year. So, dear my beautiful, wonderful learners from room 204. This was not the ending to the year that we wanted, but I'm happy that I got the chance to be your teacher. I learned just as much from you as you learned from me. And when you look back on this year in the future, I don't want you to remember just the pandemic. I don't want you to remember just COVID-19. Because this school year was so much more than that. So I thought about the topics that we learned this year, and I wrote out the life lessons that you also learned while exploring those topics, even if you didn't realize that you were learning life lessons. You are resilient and capable of anything when you put forth a good effort and a positive attitude. And no matter what, you always have people that believe in you. And I might have just been your 5th grade teacher, but I'm here for you always. So we'll start at the beginning of our year with ecology. Ecology taught us that it's important to take care of our earth and the world around us. Thinking like a scientist is important because it means asking questions, seeking answers, and experimenting for ourselves in order to understand things. Diversity is important in our wildlife, and we should always be aware of our impact on the world. We got to go on a wonderful field trip for conservation days. We got to explore different jobs in the field of conservation. We got to learn about some of our local ecosystems. One of the big takeaways for me from that field trip was you can't flush Kleenex down the toilet because it does not break down. And I think about that a lot. So those were kind of our big learnings from ecology. Next, we moved into human rights. We are all born free and equal. Everyone should be treated with dignity and respect and kindness, regardless of their race, gender, religion, or who they love. A great quote to remember this by, which is one of my favorite quotes, is from the Dalai Lama, and it's, "Our prime purpose in life is to help others, and if you cannot help them, at least don't hurt them." Understanding the rights that you have as a human is very important, and learning how to be an advocate. We talked about that a lot this year, how to advocate for yourself, for your learning, and for others, and to stand up for what's right. We then transitioned into civil rights. The civil rights movement started in the 1950s, but it has not ended. We don't talk about when the civil rights movement ended. Our world is constantly improving, and it's important that we understand history and how it impacts the present. History is very important. Civil rights and human rights are connected because every human has the right to be treated equally regardless of their skin color and as a citizen. Our history and world are full of helpers and people who used or use their voices for good, and we should know their names and stories. And whenever you see something bad, look for the people that are helping. There's always someone that's helping. There's always a positive spin you can look for. So try to look for that. Natural disasters. We didn't spend as much time on this as we would have if we were in school, but regardless, we learned that our world is a spectacular place full of science and things to study, and researching and understanding how the movement of the earth can lead to another thing is important, and it's important to practice. It's an important thing to practice as a scientist, looking and understanding how one thing impacts another, cause and effect, especially on our earth where we live. Prediction and preparedness are important parts of life. And we need to pay attention to the things around us and be aware. Be aware of our world, be aware of where we're living, be aware of what's happening in our world, the changes that are occurring. And lastly, math, we explored lots and lots of topics. But I took the life lessons that you learned from math in general in 5th grade. You learned that math is all around us all the time. You learned that math is all about problem solving and looking for solutions, just like life is. And there's often more than one way to arrive at a solution. And sometimes when there's more than one way, you have to choose the one that works best for you. Explaining your thinking is very important. Having an answer is great, but if you can't explain why that answer is right, or how you got to that answer, or what your thinking is behind that answer, then it's not very strong. So explaining your thinking is very important. And lastly, perseverance is key. You always have to keep trying, even when things get tough. So I sure do wish that we had more physical time together in our classroom, but I hope hearing this reminds you of the things that we practiced this year in our classroom. We worked together in order to learn together through questions, laughing, and our own mistakes. I only made a few of them. Our room was an awesome place to be. Through these experiences, you and I became a better and stronger reader, writer, speaker, listener, and thinker. 5th grade was awesome, and so are you. I'm getting a little emotional. Love always, Miss Gruttadaro.